Hey there, Derek Rydall here, founder of the Law of Emergence and author of the book Emergence. And it's really great to talk to you today as we're talking about this very important question that gets asked during difficult times. Where is God in all the pain and suffering? Where's God? And a lot of spiritual people, a lot of religious people, people that have a belief in the divine of some level, this really does become a question. Where's God? If God is this all-loving, all-giving, all-good presence or being, why would God allow so much pain and suffering? Children dying, planet being ravaged, global pandemics, economic collapses, really good people suffering terribly. Where is God in all of this pain and suffering? And what I really want you to understand, first of all, is that what I'm about to share does not in any way diminish what you're going through. It is not in any way a blame the victim mentality. But what I want you to understand is that God is not personal. It's principle. Now, there is, of course, a very personal experience you can have with the divine. It's very personal. Closer than us, than our very breathing, nearer than our very neck vein. That God is a very personal presence in one very real way. But in another way, God is not only love, God is law. And things don't just happen, things happen just. They happen according to law, they happen according to principle. And it's really important to know that while it's true, and first of all, let's understand that God is not the name of God. And God is not a man with a white beard on a cloud. As the old joke goes, God made man in his image, and man has been trying to repay the favor ever since. Basically making God over in man's image. But God is not a man. God is not a woman. God is not a person. It says in the Bible, he lets his rain fall on the just and the unjust, and his sun shine on the saint and the sinner. God is no respecter of persons. This is trying to tell us something. God is not a person. God's life and love is not personal. It's principle, right? If you look at all of nature, the sun doesn't only shine on good people. The rain doesn't only fall on good people. If I'm a bad person and I wire my electrical outlet correctly, it'll work and I'll have light. If I'm a really good person and I wire my electricity out of alignment, opposite of the principles of electrical conductivity, it'll either not work or it'll electrocute me or burn my house down. Where is the divine love of electricity in all of this, right? No, it doesn't matter. It's not personal, right? If I don't understand the laws of buoyancy, but I'm a really good person, I'm going to sink and maybe drown if I go into the water. If I try to fly a plane and I don't know the laws of aerodynamics, I'm going to crash even if I'm a good person. And if I'm a terrible person and I understand the laws, it's going to fly. It's really important that we understand life isn't personal, it's principle. There is a love and there is a grace, and it's ever always trying to speak to us and through us. That still small voice, but it will never force us. And it will never, and sometimes it does appear as a tapping on the shoulder, a whispering in the ear, then a 2x4, because life ultimately wants to bloom through us. But because we are not automatons, because we are conscious beings and we are meant to be conscious, individualized centers and expressions of love and of life and of the divine, it's not going to happen to us. It has to happen through us. Ye are gods. Life, God, the divine is not something outside of us. It's the very presence and power in life that is us. And we are experiencing this divine presence at the level of our conscious awareness of it. Never more, never less. You shall know the truth, and the truth will set you free. It doesn't say the truth will set you free. Truth doesn't set you free unless you know it, right? And first, it'll scare the shit out of you and piss you off and annihilate you. Then it'll set you free, right? But if you don't know the truth, and you are ignorant, if you don't know the truth about electricity, and you are ignorant and you wire things backwards, you will experience what the world calls bad stuff or evil. And evil is live backwards, right? So God, or the divine, and all the great promises in the great scriptures of the world, and all great religions and philosophies, they're not talking about a man or a person that you pray to and then Santa Claus delivers you gifts. That's not how it works, right? Like electricity, electricity is everywhere, but it doesn't do you any good if you don't know how to tap into it and how to build the structure to harness it in a way that you can plug into it, right? Same thing with music and the radio broadcasts. Right now, you are inundated with radio broadcasts, and in the midst of it, there is life-changing information and songs that would send your spirit soaring. But you're not hearing it or experiencing it right now, perhaps. Why? Because you're not tuned into it. You're not tuned into that particular frequency of the broadcast. The minute you tune your dial so that your frequency matches that frequency, that station becomes manifest. In other words, you have a manifestation, okay? Once you tune in and tap into electricity, it becomes manifest, right? During the time of Buddha or Jesus or Krishna or Lao Tzu, there was the same capacity for supercomputers and flight and electricity. They just had not yet tuned in to these ideas, to these patterns, and to this potential. But it was still there. It's not like suddenly there was electricity or suddenly there was the possibility of flight. Like it didn't exist then and now it does. No. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God and was with God, and all that was made out of the Word. Nothing was made without the Word, and God saw what God made and named it all good. The Word, the Logos, means the perfect pattern of infinite potential, existence itself, the finished kingdom of God, nirvana, the Tao. There is already, life is done. God's work is done. It's forever done. It's eternally done. Okay, there is no God that is evolving because God made time. Before the Big Bang, there wasn't time, and bam, there was time. There is something that is extemporal. There is a reality that is wholeness and completeness and perfection itself, what Plato would call the realm of perfect forms and what we now call the Platonic forms. And so there is a perfect reality of existence, whole, complete, infinite potential, infinite ideas of beauty and love and joy and creativity, and it's done. It's never, ever, ever going to get better. But it's infinite and it's eternal, and we are centers of awareness or consciousness that are eternally discovering our unique expression of this infinite potential, this infinite perfection, right? There's perfection, perception, projection, and protection. We are forever opening up the aperture of our consciousness and tapping into more of the infinite perfection according to our unique seed pattern. That then emerges as a projection, as a thought, word, deed, action, and expression, creates an experience, and then we lock it down and call it reality. That's the protection. And then if we're lucky or we're doing the work, we then tap back in again. The greatest inventions, innovations, evolutions, revolutions, progress is because somebody has shot the gap of time and space and of thought and imagination and tapped in back into some element or iteration of the perfect pattern of infinite perfection, and they've brought forth more of it. Okay? So we're at the point of evolution where it's not going to just happen to us. We now have to collaborate. It has to happen through us. So love is here. When they asked Jesus, when is heaven going to come? He said, it will not be low here or low there. It will not come through observation. Having eyes, you do not see it. Having ears, you cannot hear it. Right? He's saying it only enters into the heart of those that love God. What he was teaching was not religiosity as we know it. He was teaching us a way to see with our soul senses, to live from insight, not eyesight, to tap into this realm, which he called the kingdom of heaven. Buddha called it nirvana. Lao Tzu called it the Tao. Krishna called it the Atman, I believe. But it's all the same thing. Quantum physics called the field of infinite potential, but it's all the same thing. And then religious people call it God. Okay? But it's life itself. And it contains all of the qualities of life: love, peace, joy, beauty, abundance, wisdom, genius, harmony, order, freedom and fulfillment, bliss and ecstasy, inexhaustible good, glory to greater glory, a world without end. But we can only experience it to the degree that we actually tap into it, that we tune the dial of our awareness to it, that we are able to plug into it, like electricity, like the radio, like ideas, to the extent that we become conscious of our oneness with life and love, God. We know God as a single God now, and in the Greek and Roman, when they had a pantheon of gods, what they were really describing were the many qualities of life, the many qualities of God. And they just made each of them gods, which wasn't a bad idea, except they didn't understand they were talking about one life force. And so, but having a God of love and a God of beauty and a God of creativity, etc., means you fall in love with and you worship those qualities. Not people, but qualities. And when you fall in love with and you get on your knees and worship qualities of life, beauty, those that worship beauty tend to bring more beauty forth. Those that worship creativity tend to be highly creative and innovative. Those that worship love tend to be great lovers and bringers of love. You get it? Those are the qualities of God, or the qualities of life. And it's in our valleys that we tend to really develop our mindset for the mountaintop, because we fall in love with the vision of getting to the top of the mountain. And so during times of crises, we don't want to focus on the problems too long. We only want to notice the problems to see what desire does it trigger in us. Desire means of the sire, of the Father. It's talking about a quality that is seeking to emerge and be born through us. So we notice the desire, we notice the problem or lack. We let that bring us to what's the quality that I must give birth to in order for that desire to not be there, in order for the problem to not be there. That's the only purpose of looking at a condition, an appearance, or a problem, is to get in touch with the desire and then to become a devotee, a disciple of that desire, of that quality. And then we begin to cultivate that quality in us. And like a seed in nature, the law and the love of nature cannot bring forth that seed if the right conditions aren't cultivated. So now we know that as we cultivate those qualities we yearn to have more of, we are creating the right and the ripe conditions for that seed of potential planted in the soil of our soul to grow, to emerge. So where is God in all of this? God is here. Love is here. Life is here. Everything we need to be all that we were created to be is right where you are right now. It doesn't matter what's going on in the world of appearances and conditions. Everything you need is within you. But in order to experience it, express it, and take your life, your loved ones, and the world to the next level, you have to fall in love more with what's within than with what's without. Like Jesus said to his disciples when they were saying, what about food and clothing and this and that? And he's like, oy vey, stop it. Stop worrying. Stop taking anxious thought for tomorrow. There's enough problems today. And instead, seek first the kingdom of heaven within you, and all of those things will be added unto you. He was saying, you have to shift your priority and your focus. You have to desire more of a deeper connection with the source of creation within you. Stop coming to me for healings and loaves and fishes, or the comforter will never come. I'm not the Comforter. The Comforter is within you. The presence is within you. Salvation is within you. The source of all creation is within you. You guys have misunderstood my message. It's not about me. Stop calling me good. There is none good but God, and that is within you. That's what Jesus was teaching. That's what Buddha, Krishna, Lao Tzu, and any real spiritual teacher is teaching. You are God. And I don't mean you, the personality construct, you, the ego. That's an instrument. But the I in the midst of you is the divine, is the same I that is in the midst of all of us. And when you desire to know the truth of life and of you more than you desire to control, manipulate, fix, or change anyone or anything in the world, including yourself, then you will become a candidate for insights and breakthroughs. And share your comments. Let me know if you're jamming with this. Let me know if you're vibing with this. And let me know if you have questions about this. Pushback, feedback, that's okay. Because can be controversial and it can be scary. Because what do you mean? It's up to me? It's not up to you to make it happen. It's up to you to make it welcome. You understand? The government is upon God's shoulders. I, within you, am mighty. I go before you to prepare the place, to make the rough places smooth and the crooked places straight, to exalt the valleys and lower the mountains and make a path in the seeming desert for the coming of the Lord, the great law of life. It is the I within you, the Christ, the Buddha, the Atman, the Tao. It is that within you that does all the heavy labor. Come unto me, all ye that are heavy laden and labor, and I will give you rest. My burden is light and my yoke is easy. The yoke meaning like what they'd put around an ox to pull through the field. You have to put the yoke of the divine around you and be willing to be a servant of life and of love. But you don't do the heavy lifting. You don't make everything happen. You're not holding it all together. We have to hold it all together, but life does the heavy lifting. The divine within you, it does all the heavy work. Your job is be a student of it, be a disciple of it, be a devotee of it. Your job is to pray more than I want to change, fix, control, manipulate, heal anyone or anything, including myself. I want to know the truth that sets me free. I want to see ultimate reality. I want to be an instrument of life and love. More than I want to be loved, I want to be an instrument of love. More than I want to be at peace, I want to be an instrument of peace. Open my eyes, open my heart. Make me an ever pure, clear instrument of life and love. Like the story of the two monks walking along, and the one monk's asking the older master monk, I really want to know God. How can I know God? He's going on and on and on. And the master monk dunks his head underwater until he's about to drown. And hey there, was that Helen from Perth? So he wants to, he dunks him under there until he's about to drown. And right at the last minute pulls him out of the water. And the young monk takes a gasp and he's like, Master, why did you do that to me? And the master says, when you want God as much as you wanted that next breath, you'll have it. So we've been conditioned to be focusing more on matter than what matters. We want to use God to try to get more stuff in the world, but we have to start using everything in the world to get closer to God, closer to love. If you don't like the word God, which I didn't for years, just use the word life, use the word source, use the word love, use the word Uncle Joe. It doesn't really matter as long as you know what you're talking about. And if you're a Christian, I'm not diminishing. If you love Jesus, love Jesus. I love me some Jesus. You know, love Jesus, but Jesus isn't outside of you. Jesus is inside of you. The Christ is inside of you. Okay? And Jesus isn't a man anymore. Jesus is a state of consciousness, and you can absolutely access that. Buddha is not a man anymore. State of consciousness. Krishna. You want to love on Krishna, you want to love on Jesus, you want to love on Buddha, by all means do it. That's going to bring you to God. Just don't think it's a person outside of you, and understand and really understand the teachings of these masters, because they were not telling you to follow them as people. They were not telling you to worship them as people. They were not here to get followers. They were here to create leaders in the kingdom of God. They were here to give you back to yourself. And if you read the text again, you'll see that what I'm saying is true. And if you read it with your soul, and they said it's within you, if we had only gotten that piece right, we would be in a very different place. So where is God in all the pain and suffering? God is right here. God is in your heart. But the only way God can be manifest in the dream of humanity, in Maya, in 3D, is through our individual conscious connection to it, to him, her, it. We have to sit down every day and desire a connection. When our back is against the wall, more than anything, we desire a connection. If the burden is too heavy, we don't pray to make it lighter. We pray, God, make me stronger. If the need is too far to reach, we don't pray to bring it closer. God, open me that my reach may be longer and further. Use me, life. Use me, love. Open my eyes that I may see reality. There's nothing wrong with reality. There's only something wrong with our perception of it. And by wrong, I just mean it's limited. We're not experiencing life as it is. We're experiencing it as we are, our perception. The kingdom of God, love, good is at hand right now. We never left, folks. We can never leave. Even if you travel, if I make my bed in hell, there God is with me. It doesn't matter, right? In the Garden of Eden, in the parable of Adam and Eve, it says he ate of the fruit of the knowledge of good and evil, and a great sleep fell upon them. Nowhere does it say they woke up. All of human experience is just a bad trip. It's a good trip too. That apple was something, man. That was some heck of a, I don't know, maybe it was a mushroom. I'm just saying. But basically, it's trying to all tell us we have descended into a dream of material creation, and in order for us to bring the divine into it so that we can manifest the glory of God, the glory of love in 3D, in materiality, we have to stop making materiality our God and our master and come back home again to where we really live. We don't live in the material world. We actually live in the spiritual world right now. We're just unconscious of it. We actually live in heaven right now. Jesus kept saying, my kingdom is not of this world. He was not saying it's in the sweet by and by, pie in the sky. He was saying it's now. It's here. The good news is not someday you're going to die and go to heaven. The gospel, the God spell, the good news is you're already there. Wake up. Stop making mammon your master and your God. Stop making money symbols. Stop making even churches and political structures and economic structures and even family structures your God. There's only one Father, and that Father is in heaven, and Mother. He was telling the story that your real family, your real companionship, your real love, your real meat and bread and wine and water and everything, it's within you. You never left it. You can never be separate from it. But you've been conditioned and blinded by the realm of 3 dimensions, and you are so conditioned into the 3-dimensional sensorium that you're not in touch with the soul, with reality. Come over here, have a little bread and fish, and let me tell you how to get back home again, because it's right here. And that's what all the great masters taught, not just Jesus. So that's where God is. Your kingdom is not of this world. But that does not mean this world is not a magnificent work of art you're here to paint your tapestry on. It just means you're not actually coming from the world, you're coming from the within. And you're here to paint with the colors of your soul on the canvas of time and space and make a masterpiece of divine possibility. Just don't get lost in the painting. Right? Write your magnificent story. Put on your divine production. Just don't get lost in the play and think you're the character. Where is God in all this pain and suffering? Right here. Right here. Right here. I am with you always. Even if you make your bed in hell, I am with you. No matter whether you flee here and there, hither and thither, you can never be separate from me. Come unto me. Turn to me. Repent. That means to turn. Turn to me. The me within you. The light, the love, the still small voice. If thine eye is single, your whole body will be full of light. I will keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on me. So my invitation to you, stop looking for God out there. Stop looking for salvation out there. Yes, your love and your good will come through channels. Everybody and everything is a channel of the divine, but nobody is the source of it. You are. And I invite you now more than ever, the veil is getting thinner, folks. Because in times of great crisis, the ego first tries to take on more control, and then it loses control, and then it gets weak. And then it can't hold the veil between heaven and earth as strongly. The veil is thin. We can tap into the divine and bring forth a new world, a new way, a new you, a new me, a new we, like never before right now. Where is God in the midst of all the pain and suffering? God is in his, her, its rightful throne, rejoicing in you, saying, you are my beloved, in whom I am well pleased. And son, daughter, all that I have is yours. Just come home. Stop being a prodigal. Stop thinking you can just separate from me and be fine. Come back to me. A branch that is cut off from the tree withers and dies. Come home. I'm not going to be mad. I'm going to celebrate you. I'm going to throw a party for you. And you're going to continue to be able to have your divine inheritance. Come home. It's time to come home. It's time to come home. It's time to come home. And now more than ever, if you listen quietly enough, if you look closely enough, you'll see the light on the porch. You'll hear your father, your mother calling out, it's time to come home. When it's starting to get dark outside, it's time to come home. So I thank you for being here. I invite you to practice this. Pray that prayer of awakening. More than I want to fix, change, heal, control, manipulate anyone or anything, I want to know the truth that makes me free. I want to be an instrument of reality. Open my eyes, open my heart, open my mind. Use me, God. Use me, love. Use me, life. I'm willing. I'm ready. And watch what begins to bubble up in you. And so in this space, I just close this with the divine activation, knowing that the power and the presence and the love of God, oh, it's so good. It's so rich. It's so delicious. All that there is God. All that there is love. All that there is an immortal, eternal, indestructible, uncorruptible life shining everywhere in its fullness, wholeness, and perfection. And in this collective consciousness, in this place where two or more are gathered in agreement, I am in the midst of you. The great I am is announcing itself. And beauty and abundance and healing and insights and innovation and progress is breaking out everywhere now in our individual and collective lives. And it's spreading like a network of light around the planet, blessing and healing the planet, blessing and healing the medical industry, blessing and uplifting the political and government institutions, blessing and uplifting and creating innovation in the economic structures of the world, dissolving social and economic injustice and creating systems and structures that serve everyone with a bottom line that includes people and planet, and is a world that works for the highest good of all. This is what is emerging now. This is what is emerging. We are on the mountaintop, and I can see the promised land. And it is good. It is here. It is now. It is available now. Say yes to it. Yes, I'm willing. Yes, I'm ready. Yes, I'm able. Use me, God. Use me, love. Use me, life. Use me, divine intelligence. Whatever your word is, use me, science. Use me, divine art. Use me, great muse. Use me. Make me an instrument of the transformation, the transmutation, and the evolution of this beautiful world. I'm willing and I'm ready. Command these hands. Send me. And oh, life is rejoicing and saying, yes, it is for this that you have come. I just know something wonderful is unfolding. Everybody here listening and all that are connected to this are blessed, forgiven, supported beyond imagination. And in deep gratitude, I simply allow it to be. And so it is. Amen. So please feel free to share this. There's a high frequency encoded here. Share this. Let's wake people up. And listen to it again. Listen to the prayer again. Let it lift you up. Let it infiltrate your heart. I love you. I'm here for you. And until next time, remember to live authentically, love unconditionally, and follow your destiny.